Hi and welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that be linked with a summer transfer move to Arsenal. It's the big one. Arsenal playing Crystal Palace. This is what they've been buying players for at Arsenal, for these type of games. And it's great that Arsenal have got players in early, and it's great that signings are going to be able to play in this game. Jesus, Zinchenko, should be two guys that play. Zinchenko coming in for Tierney, who looks like he could be back to fitness. But this is exactly why you buy players and you get them in early and you get them having a pre-season so that they can be ready for the first games of the season. And when I was watching that All or Nothing documentary yesterday, it just struck me how poorly prepared we were for that first game and how many players were, that we bought weren't even playing. Even Ramsdale, the keeper, wasn't even ready for that game. So at least we're doing things in the right way there. Now, interestingly, yesterday, Mikel Arteta was being interviewed in his press conference and was asked about further transfers. And he said, listen, we are busy in the market. He goes, you can see that with our incomings and our outgoings, and we are still busy in the market. Arsenal, by the way, spent £119 million in the transfer market so far. So far, the biggest spenders in the Premier League, although I do expect other teams like Chelsea to pass us. And when a lot of people are saying things like, oh, we spent way more, the amount of money we spent. There's a lot of clubs that have spent a lot of money. I was looking at Leeds. They've spent just under 100 million as well. So everybody's been spending money, but it's how you spend the money and how you spend the money wisely. But what's going to be interesting is to see the lineup for the Crystal Palace game and who's on the bench. It will give you an indicator of some of the players that are going to be leaving Arsenal. Of course, we know, and we've spoken about it several times, Lucas Torreira is on his way out of Arsenal. Now, it looks like he may have accepted the deal to join Galatasaray, although there's still no confirmation on that yet. There's still Italian teams that would like to get their hands on him. But it is Galatasaray. They've got a firm offer down on the table of £7 million. The offer is there. And it looks like, if you're listening to Lucas Torreira's agent, it looks like they may accept that deal and he will be joining Galatasaray. And that's part of the process that Mikel Arteta is trying to do to free up some of these players and free up the space in the squad and the wages so that he can bring other players in. So he will be very happy to get Lucas Torreira out the door, although it's a massive loss. £20 million loss. Listen, it happens to every team. You lose on players, but we just don't seem to have sold anyone for a profit, have we? Pablo Mari as well. I spoke about this one yesterday, that Monza, the new club that have come up into Serie A this season, they want to get him. They want their proposal is for a loan deal for this season with an obligation to buy. Pablo Mari would be willing to return back to Italy again. He's having a look at other offers on the table as well, because there are some other Italian teams that are interested in him as well. He had a very, very good loan period last season at Udinese over there in Serie A. But it looks like Monza, they're the team that's put the deal down on the table. Looks like Arsenal, again, will be willing to accept this one. The only thing I think about this one is that you're a newly promoted team. They're saying 1 year loan deal with an obligation to buy him if we stay up. What if they don't? Newly promoted team. I mean, they are looking pretty ambitious. They are owned by Berlusconi, the ex-owner of AC Milan. They do look like they're an ambitious team and could possibly stay up. But suppose they don't stay up, then he could be back next year. So should Arsenal sort of hang on and see if they can get a better deal elsewhere? And then, of course, what's going to happen with Hector Bellerin? I'm intrigued to see if he'd be on the bench tonight. Again, this one's rumbling on because the player himself wants a specific move, and that is to Real Betis over there in Spain, where he had a very, very good time last season. There has been all this talk about Arsenal being prepared to tear up his contract. He's on £110,000 every week. That means every week he remains at Arsenal, they're having to pay his wages, even though he's not going to figure in the first team. Now, do Arsenal want this one dragging on until the end of the window? There's been other teams that have shown an interest in him, but nobody's come in with a concrete offer yet. He wants Betis. Should Arsenal just tear it up and just let him go? Remember, it's not a player that they've actually paid money for. So they wouldn't really specifically be losing. They'd be gaining on getting the wages off the wage bill. However, they may be looking at it and say, well, we ain't paid no money for him because he sort of come through the ranks. Let's get something for him. And it's pure profit, especially with all the money that we've been losing on other deals. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how far Arsenal are willing to let that drag on. Of course, you know, the transfer window shuts on the 1st of September. They may be looking at it and saying, listen, let it go. We could get some hard cash in for Hector Bellerin, and that can go towards other players. Now, the saga that's been dragging on is starting to remind me of Benzema now. All those years ago when I was going on about Benzema every day. And let's hope it doesn't end up the same way where we didn't even get to buy Benzema in the end. And that is, of course, Yuri Tielemans. This one, I'm watching this with a lot of intrigue because this will reach fever pitch next week. If, listen, we're not going to sign him this week, are we? Right? He could play for Leicester in their opening game. We're not going to sign him. We've got our first game out of the way. Nothing will happen to that until at least next week. But what happens next week? Because we've got Leicester next weekend. And, you know, it's just hotting up, you know, and the speculation is going to be even hotter. And if you're a Leicester fan or if you're a Leicester manager, you just want this settled now. And you've heard Brendan Rodgers say recently he doesn't want this dragging on. But next week could see it really heat up. Now, according to Foot Mercato, French publication, Leicester have already lined up Houssem Aouar. I spoke about this one yesterday. They're interested in signing Houssem Aouar. Houssem Aouar, by the way, was set to go to Real Betis, the same club I was just talking about with Hector Bellerin. They were looking to pay £12 million for him, but the deal fell through. And at the moment, he's just in a bit of limbo, Houssem Aouar. Houssem Aouar, just like Yuri Tielemans, has 1 year left on his contract. Now, remember, Houssem Aouar, we were after him a couple of seasons ago. Everybody was saying, let's get Aouar, let's get Aouar. At that time, he was being valued at nearly £40 million. We didn't go in for him in the end. It doesn't look like we're going to go in for him at all this time. It's definitely Yuri Tielemans that Arsenal are very interested in. So, will Arsenal make a move possibly next week? And will Leicester make a move for Houssem Aouar next week? That could hold a key to the whole thing. If you see Leicester starting to make a deal, make a move for Houssem Aouar next week, then you know that, you know, the Tielemans things could be happening soon. But definitely, it looks like the Houssem Aouar thing could hold a key to when Arsenal make a pounce for Yuri Tielemans, because there's definitely a strong interest from Arsenal in Tielemans, but yet to make a bid for him, and it's just been so intriguing. I would love to be a fly on the wall to know what's going on behind the scenes as to why this one is just, at the moment, dragging on, as Brendan Rodgers don't want to see. And then, of course, CODY Gakpo. We've been linked so long with a winger. We know we tried to get Rafinha. That fell through. Gakpo is the one that is being heavily linked with Arsenal. Now, again, this is very intriguing. He's playing for PSV, of course, who are still in the Champions League, but in the qualifying stages of the Champions League. They actually played a game on Tuesday and drew 1-1 with Monaco. It wasn't a great result for them. The return leg for that is on Tuesday, the 9th of August. So next week, Tuesday, is the return leg of that. Now, if PSV were to win that return leg, they would then go into the final playoff rounds, which will be played towards the end of August. I think that'll be concluded around about the 24th, 25th of August. And then you know if you're fully in the Champions League. Now, if, say, PSV were to get knocked out of the Champions League next week, and there's a strong possibility of that because they have to go to Monaco now and get a result. So you'd have to say the favourites for that game are going to be Monaco. If they were to get knocked out, then that could be the time to make a move and pounce for CODY Gakpo. I remember there's not just Arsenal interested in him, and I know Arsenal definitely hold an interest in him. Leeds United, who've been big spenders in this transfer window, as I said, just under 100 million they spent, they are definitely interested in CODY Gakpo as well. Remember, they lost Rafinha, and they've got that Rafinha money to spend. So Arsenal will be on alert for this, because, you know, it could be that next week is the time to move for CODY Gakpo, if indeed they're after CODY Gakpo. And of course, you know, PSV then being out of the Champions League would be surely willing to sell. You know what I mean? You know, they miss out on big money if they are not in the Champions League. If they was to make it through to the next round, I don't think there's going to be any movement on CODY Gakpo at all until the conclusion of that playoff round. And then if they would then get through to the Champions League fully, they may demand huge money for him, because, you know, they've got the big amount of money that's going to be coming in from the Champions League. So it's going to be really intriguing around Gakpo, and you can see why clubs are kind of waiting to see what happens. And there is no way PSV were going to sell him until after these round of games. They want to know, and they want to have their best team to try and get through. So it's going to be really intriguing to see. So let's keep an eye on that game next week, Tuesday, to see how that turns out, and it's to see then if Arsenal make a move. So it's hotting up in the transfer window. Of course, it shuts on the 1st of September. What will Arsenal do? What will be those other signings that, you know, Mikel Arteta sort of saying they're looking to make? Listen, thanks for watching the show today. Don't forget to check out all of our excellent content around the Crystal Palace game, all the fan cams that we're going to have coming out after the game, our big watch-along in the studio. Make sure you check that out. We're doing a watch party, so there's going to be a load of us in the studio watching that game. Very special one for the first one. And, yeah, catch up with interviews with the fans. Full-time show where wherever you are around the world, you get a chance to have your say as well on the Arsenal performance. So make sure you do that straight after the game. Thanks for watching the show, and I'll see you tomorrow.